Hello and welcome to my channel Language, Literature and Grammar. The drama which I am going to discuss today is Duchess of Malfi. This drama is written by John Webster. John Webster was born on 1578 in London, England, and he died in 1626 in London, England as well. His spouse was Sarah Peniel, and he was one of the Jacobean dramatists. He wrote the dramas at the same time during which Shakespeare had a monopoly over the society. Uh, Two most famous tragedies which John Webster had written is The White Devil and The Duchess of Malfi, which we are going to discuss today. Talking about the characters, the Duchess is the protagonist of the drama. She is a widow. Her duke had died. Her twin brother is Ferdinand, who is Duke of Calabria, and there's one more brother, Cardinal, who is older than both Duchess and Ferdinand. He's Cardinal of Aragon. Antonio Bologna is the steward of the Duchess. He takes care of the entire household, and he's the person to whom Duchess is going to marry in as we move forward into the drama. Bosola, you can say, is one of the antagonists who was recruited as the Duchess' horses keeper by her two brothers, Ferdinand and Cardinal, but in reality, he was hired to spy on Duchess and make sure that she doesn't get remarried. Delio is Antonio's friend who is a great help throughout the drama. Cariola is the confidant of Duchess who keeps all her secret and helps her in every possible manner. Julia is Cardinal's mistress and Castruccio's wife. Castruccio is courtier under Ferdinand. The setting of the drama is in the Italy, in the palace of Duchess in Malfi, and the time is 16th century. Talking about the first act, it begins with the entry of Ferdinand and Cardinal, who is visiting her sister from Rome, and they are just visiting her and making sure that she does not get married again. Antonio at the same time has returned from the France to the palace of Malfi. Both these brothers, they manages to convince Duchess to hire Bosola as the horse keeper, but in reality, Bosola has been hired to spy on Duchess. Ferdinand and Cardinal, before leaving the Duchess of Malfi, makes sure to give her a lecture over the impropriety of remarriages. And even Duchess agrees with it and she confirms that, okay, I will not get married again. But as soon as both the brother leaves, she proposes to Antonio. And as I said before, Cariola, the maid, she is a great help. So along with her help, Antonio and Duchess gets married by the end of Act 1. When we talk about Act 2, there is a time lapse. We see a gap of 9 months, and we see that Duchess is pregnant after the 9 months. Basola, although, is suspicious about her pregnancy, and thus he offers apricot to the Duchess, as it is known that if a pregnant woman eats apricot, it induces labor pain. So he offers apricot to the Duchess. She eats it, and immediately she goes into the labor pain. Now Antonio and Delio, they are planning to keep the labor as a secret. Basola, although he is half sure that Duchess has given birth, and his suspicion becomes solid once he finds horoscope which has been dropped off from Antonio's pocket, and that horoscope belongs to the infant. Immediately he writes a letter to Duchess' brother confirming that Duchess has given birth to a baby, although he wasn't sure that who is the father, nor he knew that Duchess is pregnant. After receiving the letter, Cardinal and Ferdinand both are furious, but Cardinal, he remains as calm, and Ferdinand says that he is not going to take any action unless he knows that Duchess has remarried. So until then, he considers that the baby is a bastard, and since the baby is a bastard, he has no claim over the property of the Duke. In Act 3, again, there is a time lapse of 2 years. We see that Delio has returned into the Duchess' palace, and Duchess has given birth to two more children. So now Antonio and Duchess have three children. Antonio and Delio, they suspect that Ferdinand is aware about the birth of the baby, and they are quite tensed about it. Ferdinand gives a surprise to Duchess in her chamber, and there Duchess informs him that she has married, and Ferdinand becomes so furious that he says that do not tell me who the father is, whom have you married, otherwise the violence will take place. And at the same time he banishes her, that you be out of my sight, I never want to see you again. Duchess understands the precariousness of the situation, and thus in the false pretext she banishes Antonio to Ancona just to save his life. And when, after the banishment, that Basola comes to Duchess and he tries to clarify the doubt that no, Antonio is such a good soul. He tries to protect the virtue of Antonio. And Duchess gets so convinced in the act that she admits the secret of her marriage to Antonio in front of Basola. Once Basola comes to know about it, he then tells it to everyone, of course. And this Duchess, she is so naive that she tells Basola that you also go to Anconia, and give the money to him and let him know that I will soon follow him. But in Ancona, Cardinal catches up to them, and not only he banishes his sister, he banishes Antonio and all her children. Once they are out of the town, Basola comes with a letter of Ferdinand, which is more like a threat. So Duchess again understands the situation and she separates with Antonio. She gives her eldermost son to Antonio, and Duchess goes along with her two sons. Basola again comes with a group of soldiers and he captivates Duchess along with her two children and send them back to the palace. In Act 4, we see that Ferdinand is making sure that the Duchess who is imprisoned gets tortured in every possible manner. He presents her with wax corpse of her family and convinces her that everybody has died. He sends the madman, he plays loud music, he deprives her of the sleep. Even at once, Basola also tries to convince Ferdinand that do not torture her that much. And at the same time, Basola also tells Ferdinand that she is still in her calm and composed manner. Basola disguises himself as a tomb maker and prepares the Duchess for her impending death. But still, she remains calm and she remains at peace. Because in her head, she was thinking that all her family is dead. So once she dies, she can meet them in heaven. They strangulate her, and Duchess courageously faces the situation. After that, Basola orders to murder Duchess' remaining children and Cariola. When Ferdinand confronts the Duchess' dead body, he is overtaken with remorse. He started losing his mind. He becomes mad, and at the same time, he becomes so angry. And he tells Basola that why did he follow his orders? Doesn't he have any sense? And at the same time, he deprived Basola of the award which he agreed that if he murders Duchess, he would be granted. And at the end of Act 4, we see that Ferdinand is showing the signs of insanity. In the final stage of her death, Duchess shows little sign of her life, and Basola makes sure to let her know that her family is still alive. After the death of Duchess, Basola genuinely becomes sad. Moving on to Act 5, we see that Antonio is still ignorant. He doesn't know that his wife and children are dead, and he is planning that it would be a right time to go to Cardinal for reconciliation. Talking about Ferdinand, he starts suffering from lycanthropia, which is a belief that he is a wolf, so he starts losing his mind altogether. Basola arrives and the cardinal Basola arrives to the palace and he starts talking to the cardinal, and cardinal pretends that he has no clue that there was involvement of Basola in Duchess' death, and he also deprives him from the reward. And at the same time, he promises him that if you murder Antonio, I will give you a reward. Basola accepts it, but in his head, he starts plotting the revenge that if you did bad to me, I will do the same to you. We see that Julia in Act 5 declares her love for Basola, and Basola very intelligently uses her that you go and make Cardinal admit his involvement in Duchess' murder, and Julia does so. But after Cardinal has spoken about his involvement in Duchess' murder, he murders Julia as well. But Basola, as clever as he comes to the chamber and he says that before you murder Julia, I heard every word of it, that you also accept that I murdered Duchess. Then again, Cardinal says that I'm not denying you from the award, but I want you to murder Antonio also and take care of the dead body of Julia. After that, I'll reward you. Then Cardinal moves outside and he tells the rest of the courtier that whatever sound you hear coming from the chamber, please do not come inside, because Ferdinand has lost his mind and he becomes even more violent when he sees lots of people around. So no matter what you hear from inside, do not come inside. In reality, Cardinal wanted that time so that he can take care of the dead body of Julia. Meanwhile, Basola is standing outside and he has a change of heart and he starts thinking that he will give the right heir what they have been deprived of. He becomes to the side of Antonio and he thinks that he will take the revenge of Antonio. At the same time, Antonio comes into the chamber for the reconciliation of Cardinal and accidentally Basola kills Antonio. After having killed Antonio by mistake, he becomes so sorrow driven that he enters into the cardinal's room and attacks him. Ferdinand, in his insane mind, he stabs both Cardinal and Basola. Basola, although kills Ferdinand, but before dying, he confesses to the entire courtiers that how all these brothers they were involved in the murder of Duchess and her children, and how they had plotted the murder of Antonio as well. Meanwhile, Delio enters with Antonio's oldest son, the sole survivor of the family, and along with the courtiers, they promise to raise the boy and give the legacy of his parents. So the tragedy ends with the hope. Talking about the Duchess and the drama, in 16th century, family plays a key role, but a woman to be the head of it, that is quite crucial. In those days, marriages used to take place for power and position, but seeing that Duchess married for love is significant. Talking about the gender role as well, women did not have any power, but in the drama, we see that Duchess is such a strong character that she takes a stand for herself. She marries the person whom she wants, not listening to her brother. Kneeling is a very strong symbol. When Duchess proposes Antonio, she lifts him from the kneeling position and makes him stand to her shoulder. That shows that she has lifted him up to her social status. Likewise, when she proposes Antonio, she gives the same ring which Duke had given her, symbolizing that by giving him that ring, she is bringing him into her social status. And when the Duchess brother, took that ring away from Antonio, that is also snatching that status away from him, making sure that Antonio would realize that he is not same as Duchess and Duke, as Cardinal and as Ferdinand. That is it for the drama. So please do comment in the comment section that what did you like about it and which are the other dramas and poetries and novels you would want me to give the summary of. And please like and subscribe my channel. Thank you so much.